you, Michael. I'd like to reiterate Michael and Ken's welcome for everybody here this morning. We appreciate you coming in to see this presentation. Hopefully we'll answer your questions. There'll be opportunities to ask more questions that aren't apparently answered in this presentation. As you can see, I am the Trip Implementation Director for the Airport Development and Engineering Department. And on behalf of that department, we'd also like to welcome you here this morning. We're going to start off by talking about what is the TRIP program, what's encompassed within the program, more information than probably you may want to know as far as pertaining to concessions, but it gives you a good background and overview of what we're going to be doing over the next 7 years within each of the DFW terminals. We're going to talk a little bit about the phasing and staging and how this is going to roll out to the public, and then get into a little bit more of the details for how the construction will take place within each of the zones. So hopefully that'll give you some more information on that process. Then my esteemed colleagues that follow will give you much more information that is detailed about each of the concession zones and the permitting requirements and so forth. So to start, we've got, and you may have seen this before, but it's a good overview video of what is all encompassed in the TRIP program, what this will look like when we're completed. And it takes just a minute to load, but I think that this will give you a good idea of where we're headed.
Dallas-Fort Worth International Airport, the economic engine for North Texas, opened for business in 1974. Now, almost 40 years later, we are about to embark on a major terminal development and renovation program, which is aimed at relifing our terminal infrastructure. We're making modifications that will improve the operational efficiency for our airline stakeholders while increasing the revenues generated through our concessions program. Working within the structural boundaries of the existing facilities, our terminal development program will enhance the entire passenger experience, from the parking of automobiles to the boarding of aircraft. We have worked with our air carriers and stakeholders to develop a fiscally responsible program that will accomplish a set of mutual goals and objectives. The $1.87 billion program will start in Terminal A shortly after the Super Bowl in February 2011. While the majority of the program cost involves the replacement of electrical, air conditioning and heating, plumbing and fire protection systems, it also includes the installation of a new technology backbone and security system. As a passenger, you will see improved vestibules at each of 3 sections in the terminals, which will serve as landmarks into the terminal passenger ticketing and security checkpoint areas. Passenger processing lobbies will reflect the latest in technology and passenger processing applications, which will respond to changes in airline ticketing procedures. The security checkpoints will be rotated to accommodate full-body scanning equipment, as well as being adequately sized to process passenger demand. Concessions will be relocated to optimize passenger contact, particularly at the SkyLink stations. Wayfinding and access to SkyLink stations will be enhanced through reorganization of adjacent hold rooms and concessionaire configurations. Materials used in the program will conform to the latest in sustainable development guidelines. technology integration will allow for the installation of electronic advertising and video walls which can be programmed with variable messaging. Passengers exiting the building will leave through the enhanced security vestibules into baggage claim areas. New high-capacity flow-through elevators will be used to access the lower-level curbside, where DFW ambassadors will be stationed to assist passengers with their ground transportation needs.
Okay, well, that video is available online on YouTube, and every time I see it, I see something new that I haven't seen before. A lot of really beautiful visual images, you know, all the way from the initial passenger contact at the lower reception areas on the curbside, high-speed flow-through elevators to speed passengers to and from the ticketing halls, and then I don't know if you noticed the expanded ticketing halls, they're actually bumped back another level, another column line within the terminals with this see-through glass into the air side, so you have that direct connection between, you know, the land side and the air side. A lot more room within the ticketing halls to allow for queuing and for mobility. Then I think a big feature here is also the security screening, where those security checkpoints are being turned sideways so that they can actually be elongated and encompass the queuing within that checkpoint, so you don't have queuing that spills out into the air side or the land side corridors anymore. I mean, so those are all really nice visual features. And then when you move into the air side of the terminal, you get to the new gating arrangements, the new signage, the new concessionaire spaces, a much more visually appealing presentation for all the traveling passengers. But what you don't see is the 70 to 75% of the program that is all behind the scenes. And that's really what the passengers will see on the outside. On the inside, we're actually going in and removing all the ceiling in the entire terminal, pulling off all the HVAC ductwork and replacing it all. We're renovating all the mechanical systems within the terminals to put in new higher efficiency systems with digital controls. We're putting in a new fire alarm system that will give us the voice evacuation, that will give us the public addressing terminal-wide. We're putting in new electrical systems throughout the terminal that will optimize the power routing throughout the system. We're putting in a new fire protection system, different from the fire alarm, that again brings everything up to the current modern code requirements. So all that takes place in spaces you don't see, but that really is the major portion of relifing these facilities to carry on for the next 30 years. One of the major components that makes some of this possible is a new high-speed data backbone that will be installed. So that data backbone not only provides the bandwidth capability to do the video walls and the presentations of actual video content, but then that also provides the ties into the new fire alarm system and all the new digital telephone and so forth that will be deployed throughout the terminals. So the major portions of this program, the portions that actually take quite a while to build, are all those systems that are behind the scenes. They're above the ceiling, they're on the roof, they're on the ramp level. So, you know, the public doesn't really see some of that construction, but we do have to take entire spaces down at a time and close the gates and block them off to the traveling public and put up fire-rated walls so that we can do this work and pull the ceiling down. So that gets into the major phasing components. So obviously, staging and phasing gate closures in sequence throughout these terminals is a major event with the airlines, and that's been ongoing for a long time, the planning for that process. Right now, we're looking at completing these terminals in thirds. So there's really 3 major phases for each of the existing terminals, with the exception of Terminal B, where it looks like there's a 4th phase because of the way the mechanical systems work.